So for the purposes of today, we've created a fictitious online shop, which is called Style. As you can see, it sells a range of furniture, lighting, and household products. This is actually a Magento store, but it could just as easily be any of the popular e-commerce platforms that retailers are using today, such as Visualsoft, Shopify, or WooCommerce, for example. So let's start shopping. This rose gold clock will look really good on one of my walls in my apartment. So we're going to add that to my basket. And we French love our coffee. So I'm going to add this coffee cup to my basket. I need a new mug. Good. So I've now got my 2 items in my basket, and I'm going to go through the checkout process. So we'll now navigate to the checkout screen. And this is where GFS Checkout integrates with your e-commerce platform to manage delivery options and to calculate duties and taxes. So first of all, before we can see all of the delivery options and the duties and taxes, we just need to enter our address details and communication details, which I will very quickly do now. I'll change my country to France and then populate my address. Once we've entered all of our delivery address details, there is a request that goes off to checkout, and it returns all of the relevant delivery options for the customer based on the details that we've entered. So in this scenario here, as they're both lightweight parcel sized items, then I've got the option to collect my order. So it shows a map of all of the click and collect points near my apartment. In this scenario, it's DPD pickup shops, but could be a variety of any other carrier pickup shops that our customers may want to use. If it was a big, heavy piece of furniture, for example, then it's likely that we would have different rules and different services set up for that. And what's great about GFS Checkout is that it's a rules-based engine. It comes pre-configured with over 1,000 delivery options, including over 75,000 click and collect locations across the UK and the EU and the rest of the world. And as the retailer, you can configure it any way you want, basically, and also use it to easily switch services on or off if you need to. It's great for customer experience because it lets you offer a wide range of delivery choice and convenience to the customer. So I've now specified here in a minute the option that I want to select for my delivery, the e-commerce economy delivery option. However, for example, I know Style are running a promotion at this moment in time on their site, offering free delivery on orders over £20. So if I wanted to add something else into my basket for my order to take it over the £20 threshold, I could do. To be honest, I'm happy with what I've got in my basket, and I'll proceed with these 2 items. So these rules, it's not just shipment value, basket value, that can be used to control different delivery options, free delivery, for example. It can also be controlled by a variety of other different options. So for example, the weight of the order, and the country, the destination country it's being delivered to, the shipping zone it's being delivered to, which could be a group of countries grouped together, a particular postcode, a particular town. So there's a whole variety of different options that can be set up in the rules in the background within GFS Checkout. As I said, I've decided I don't want to spend any more, so I'll stick with my clock and I'll stick with my mug and choose economy delivery, as it's the cheapest option and I'm in no rush. Now here's where duties and taxes are calculated, just right underneath our delivery options. And if you look here, we can see clearly we have the value of the items of the goods in our basket, £12.99. We can see clearly our delivery cost and our duties and taxes amounts being calculated as well and displayed. This particular retailer style has chosen to include the duties in the price of the shipping. So in this scenario, it's shown as a DDP, DTP, duties, taxes paid scenario. Our duties and taxes calculator also gives the retailer the option to not include duties upfront and to show duty unpaid shipping prices delivered at place, which means that the customer, Philippe, would be asked to pay the duties on receipt of his parcel. So whether you decide to present duty paid or duty unpaid shipping prices to your customers, it's always best from a customer experience perspective to be transparent and let the customer know what duties they're going to be paying, so there's no nasty surprises when the goods arrive. Just also to point out as well, the duties and taxes calculator, it's not actually just for Europe, it's global. So if we were going to the US, and each state in the US has its own tax codes and rules. So here, if that was the case, we have the ability to show these state code values and any applicable duties to the US too, if it was a US order. So it's just really important to point that out to the listeners that obviously this is a French scenario, but we also have the ability to show it from a global perspective as well.
Fantastic.
So coming back to Philippe and our order to France, obviously we're selected e-commerce economy. I will now just check out and complete my order. And I've now placed my order for delivery to Paris, and it's gone through to Styles Warehouse. It's been processed through their WMS system and shipped along with the correct labels and customs declaration to avoid any hitches when it goes through the customs clearance process. Let's now move over to the warehouse where Philippe's order is waiting to be labelled and dispatched with GFS Selector, our multi-carrier labelling platform. You're now going to see how Selector generates the carrier compliant label for the shipments, and also how Selector passes the required customs data to the carrier, which they need in order to get the parcel through customs at the French border. The customs declaration data is passed to the carrier electronically, so there's no need for physical paperwork. In other words, it supports paperless trade, and all of the carriers that GFS offer to our customers, the data is passed electronically for customs clearance purposes. And the only carrier which does require a commercial invoice in some scenarios is DHL Express, either if they don't allow it to that destination, for example, Russia, or paperless trade is only available up to a certain shipment value. So I'm now in my warehouse in front of my GFS Selector screen, and I can see Philippe's order here. And this has been imported from Styles WMS system via our CSV integration. We also have an API integration, or customers can also enter their shipments manually, or it could also be via our GFS channel connector product. So to give a very brief overview, we have our shipments here that's been imported into Selector. We can see the address details, phone number, email address. We can also see our order reference here, which is carried across to the carrier, relevant carrier service codes. Moving through to the customs details, more importantly, we can see initially when the screen loads, we have our breakdown of the two items that are in the basket. And we have, more importantly, in this second tab, more detailed customs details. So we have the values of both of the items. We have the weights of both of the items here and here. The descriptions here and here, and the harmonized codes here and here. We also have the ability within the payer field to select whether it's the sender paying the duties. So that will be DTP scenario, or the recipient paying the duties, DAP. So in this scenario, we've got sender. We also have the total value of the items, $12.99 GBP. And further down here, we have what we call the overall description of the items that Style sells, which covers an overall description of the items that are in the parcel, which is furniture, lighting, and household accessories. The shipper's EORI number is held at an account level, and customers who use our API integration can also choose to pass their EORI number in the API request. So, as we said, Philippe's order has been picked and packed. We have all of the required details in Selector, and we can now generate the label and the required customs information to be passed through to the carrier. If this was real life, we will be seeing the label coming out on a GFS printer, which is next to me at the packing station, but we will now generate it and show it to screen. I'll show it to screen. So I'm going to select print selected and show it to screen. And if I bring the label to screen, we can obviously see from a higher level some of that important information that's being passed over. So we've got the delivery address of Philippe in Paris. It's PLT because France is a PLT destination. We have our order reference here. What that means is that all of the data for customs purposes and customs clearance has been passed electronically to the carrier. So there's no need for us or our customer to have to be able to generate any commercial invoices. There's some destinations, as I said earlier, for example, Russia, which don't offer PLT, paperless trade, where commercial invoice is required, but the majority of destinations do. And that's obviously printed on the label when it's a PLT destination for the delivery address. We also have here our waybill number, our DHL waybill number, and here a high-level overall description of Style's goods. There is some data that does get displayed, like the weight, the high-level overall description of the contents, but the majority of information, the HS codes, the SKU codes, the descriptions, the individual item weights, that's all passed in the electronic data, which is sent through to the carrier, irrespective of which carrier it is, whether it's DPD, DHL, for example. So that's all done. The parcel has been labelled and dispatched with DHL, and they have all of the required customs data for clearance. So the parcel is now on its way to Philippe in Paris. So let's go back to Philippe, who has now received his order and wants to return one of the items. And this is where we use the third product in our bundle, GFS Global Returns Pro, where we see how quick and easy it is for customers to make a return. And we also see how the customs declaration is generated to ensure duty relief on returned items, to make sure you don't pay taxes twice on the same goods. So now I'm Philippe, the customer again, and I'm going to make an online return. What you're seeing here is the GFS Global Returns portal, which can be branded with the retailer's logo, in this case Style, so that customers get a consistent brand experience. It's also multilingual and automatically displays the portal in the local language dependent upon where the customer's IP address is. So we will just enter in our order number that we're returning. Along with our postcode. This now brings up my order on screen, which you can see here. I simply need to select the item that I'm going to return, which is the coffee cup, and select the reason for the return. So let's pick no longer needed or wanted, and we'll then move through to the next screen. By the way, GFS Global Returns is fully configurable. So as the retailer, you can configure it to be and have your own rules and requirements for managing returns. The carrier selection screen, which is what's displayed now, is where Philippe can choose how he wants to return the item. Again, GFS Global Returns Pro is fully configurable to allow setup of different carrier services and charges for different countries. And it's also available in more than 36 languages. So if I was actually in France today, it would be displaying in French for me. But as my IP address is in the UK, that's why it's in English. So we're going to select DHL Express. And then we would just confirm all of our details along with a collection address, which I can select as being Wednesday. And we would then be given a time slot of when that is likely to be collected. And this is the point where the interaction is done with the carrier. The consignment is created and the customs details are passed to the carrier. The carrier label can be generated to screen and also emailed to the customer. I'll now bring up on screen the returns label, which I've been emailed. So here we have the label. We can see here, this is where it is being collected from. And this is where it's being delivered to, which is Styles Warehouse back in the UK. And there are also instructions for Philippe so that it can be explained to him what needs to go on the outside of the parcel and also what needs to be on the inside of the parcel. Let's move further down and look at the customs declaration in a bit more detail. So we have the RGR, the returns good relief number here. We have the CPC, the customs procedure code here. We have the EORI number here. And also importantly, we have the carrier and the original tracking number for Philippe's original order. And we receive all this information in on a daily basis into the returns portal from our customers. So this can be used to pass when the consignment is created for the return, because all of this information, along with also what's displayed on the customs declaration, the description of the goods here, the harmonized code here, the item weight here, and the unit value here, all of this information is passed to the carrier to ensure there's no duties being paid on the return. So that's now complete. Philippe has submitted his return via the portal, and you saw how it took no more than 2 to 3 minutes for Philippe to do that. As soon as Philippe's done that, it becomes immediately visible to Style in the returns admin portal, which I'll now log into. Our customers that use Global Returns Pro on a daily basis, they feed into the system all of their orders that have been dispatched since their last feed was imported. And the imported information, like I said, is we're getting all the information in that is regarding that order. So the SKU codes, the quantities, the weights, the harmonized codes also. And then also in the portal itself, we hold other important information like the RGR, the CPC, and the EORI number. And all of that information, when it's passed on the customs declaration to the carrier, it just ensures that the retailer isn't paying the duties twice. They get the duty relief when it comes back into the UK, for example.
Perfect.
So we've opened up the returns portal. And as I said, when Philippe has done his return, it became immediately available to Style in the returns admin portal. And you can see that straight away if I go to the return orders selection. There is a number of different search criteria that you can search by. So, for example, a particular order number, a particular SKU code, or you can search for returns for a particular customer. If I was to move down and select our return, we can see we have all of our returns details here, what's being returned, the reason why it's being returned, return shipping method it's coming back with DDP. We can see the collection details, and more importantly here as well, we can see the collection date and we can see the collection time as well. As I mentioned earlier, I'll show you how to configure Global Returns Pro to suit your own rules and requirements of how you want to manage your returns. And within the administration section, we have that information held. So we have the logo of our customer, our retailer. We have our RGR code, our CPC. We have our EORI number. It's also possible to hold the address details, the returns policy. So for example, how many days consumers have to return items, estimated refund time, what carriers are used from each country for returns, and also what costs are applicable. Are we charging for the return? Are we charging for the carrier, for the label, for example? We will help and assist and guide the retailer in how to do all of that setup as well, and what's required and the relevant feeds from their systems to get those details in to assist them with all of this process.